Last night, you were awake. You were lying there staring at the ceiling, replaying that one embarrassing thing you said in 2019, half reading a text you were too tired to reply to, mentally writing an email you were never gonna send at 11:30 p.m. And then your alarm went off. And 8 hours were just gone. Completely. No fade to black. No final thought. No moment where your brain filed a little report saying, okay, we're clocking out now. Just nothing and then morning. You've fallen asleep thousands of times in your life, and you've never, not once, actually experienced it. That is not normal. That is genuinely one of the strangest things a human brain does. And today, we're gonna find out exactly why. Okay, so before we get into the actual neuroscience, I want you to try something. Think about the last thing you remember from last night before you woke up. Was it a thought? A sound? Your phone screen? For most people, it is something genuinely random. Like suddenly remembering you have to return something to Target, or that the text you sent at 6 p.m. might have sounded weird. Not a conclusion, just a loose thread. And then nothing. Your brain did not wrap things up neatly. It did not say goodnight. It just quietly left the building. And the reason it does that is so specific, so deliberate, and so deeply weird that I still think about it. Let's start with a question that sounds simple but actually breaks your brain a little bit. Why can't you record the moment you fall asleep? The obvious answer most people assume is that the brain turns off, like a phone that dies. Screen goes dark, machine stops, no camera running, obviously no footage. Logical. Also completely wrong. Your brain does not turn off when you sleep. It keeps burning almost as much energy as when you're awake. The lights are still on, technically. Something else is happening. Something much more interesting and honestly a little unsettling. Here's what is actually going on. Every hour you're awake, your brain produces a chemical byproduct called adenosine. Think of it as the biological equivalent of all the dishes piling up in your sink. You keep using things, the mess keeps building, and at some point, it becomes physically uncomfortable to ignore. Adenosine stacks up all day. By evening, it is pressing on the systems that were keeping you alert, slowly dragging them offline one by one. The longer you fight sleep, the higher the pile gets. This, by the way, is exactly why caffeine works. Coffee does not actually give you energy. It just blocks your brain from seeing the pile. You're still exhausted. You just temporarily cannot tell. And then the coffee wears off and every bit of that exhaustion comes crashing in at once, which is called a crash, and which you've experienced and which you've probably blamed on not sleeping enough when really it was the 3 p.m. espresso finally giving up. So when you finally get into bed, adenosine has won. Your brain starts sending signals to the systems that have been keeping you awake all day and telling them very firmly to shut it down. And they do. But not all at once. This is where it gets really interesting. Your brain does not fall asleep the way a power grid goes dark in a storm. One switch, everything off, clean and simultaneous. What actually happens is more like a building at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. One floor goes dark, then another. But the elevator is still running. Third floor lights are still on for some reason. The security guard is still making rounds even though everybody left hours ago. Scientists call this local sleep. Different regions of your brain can be in completely different states of consciousness at the exact same time. Which is also why sleepwalking exists, by the way. The part of the brain that moves your body is still clocked in. The part that records memories is already gone for the night. That is why a sleepwalker can navigate a kitchen, open a fridge, eat something, and still remember nothing. Two completely different departments. One still open, one closed. Now here's the piece that actually explains why you cannot remember any of this. There's a structure in the center of your brain called the thalamus. And the thalamus is essentially the bouncer of your entire conscious experience. Every single thing you see, hear, feel, smell, and touch has to pass through the thalamus before it becomes something you're actually aware of. Nothing gets into the VIP section of your cortex without the thalamus signing off on it. When you're awake, it is passing everything through. Every notification buzz, every car outside, every slightly uncomfortable pillow situation. All of it cleared, all of it processed, and all of it potentially becoming a memory. But when sleep hits, the thalamus starts doing something remarkable. It begins generating rhythmic bursts of neural activity called sleep spindles. These fire about 12 to 15 times per second. And their entire job is to block incoming sensory information from reaching your cortex. Not slow it down, block it. The thalamus is essentially putting up a do not disturb sign and enforcing it aggressively. The traffic noise does not make it through. The partner shifting around next to you barely registers. The world keeps happening, but none of it is getting upstairs anymore. And here's why that matters for your missing memory. To form a memory, your hippocampus needs raw material. It needs something to actually record. The moment the thalamus cuts the feed, the hippocampus has nothing to work with. It is like trying to film a video with the lens cap on. The camera is running, the mechanism works, there's just no image coming in. So there's nothing to save. The reason you do not remember falling asleep is not because your brain stopped working. It's because your brain deliberately cut its own recording equipment off before the event even finished happening. You cannot remember it because the you that does the remembering was already offline. And here's what I love most about all of this. And I mean love in the way you love something that makes you feel slightly existentially dizzy. What falls asleep first is not your body. It's not even your thoughts. The very first thing to go offline is the part of your brain responsible for knowing that you exist. The prefrontal cortex, which handles self-awareness, identity, and the continuous experience of being a conscious person, clocks out before almost everything else. Which means that by the time the rest of your brain is shutting down, there's already nobody home to notice it happening. The observer leaves before the show ends. The audience walks out before the curtain falls. You disappear from your own experience quietly, gracefully, and completely without your knowledge or consent. You've done this tens of thousands of times already. Every night you stop existing for a few hours and come back the next morning slightly more repaired than before. And every single time, the exit is invisible to you. Not because something went wrong, because something went exactly right. Your brain decided at some point in evolution that witnessing your own dissolution every night would be deeply counterproductive, so it made sure you never would. The reason you cannot remember falling asleep is the same reason a cat can stare at a wall for 45 minutes and you will never fully understand what it is thinking. Some things happen in a layer of experience that does not come with a transcript. Your brain checked out, filed no report, left no note. And honestly, given what is actually happening in there every single night, that is probably for the best.